Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are listening from or what time you're listening in. And welcome to part two of creating custom rebar shapes in Probar 2D using the old interface. In part one, we covered the basics of just getting started. And now in part two, we're going to delve into a bit more depth in creating custom rebar shapes. So right, without further ado, we're going to jump straight into our Autodesk, and I'm just going to bring this interface back onto screen. And if you watched part one, you know that this is where we ended. Okay, so we are going to put in another leg over here. And so, of course, we need to create another vector, and this will be vector C. We'll make this L, and then we'll point 3 and 4. Okay, so we are going to move backwards. So we are going to move to the left, which means that we might have some negative values. Okay, so what we need to do here in this case is here we actually need to adjust our dimensions. And so if we go minus C, and we can do B, we see that that actually works very, very well. If we change this, say, to 5, you'll see that it actually adjusts that length. Okay, this won't have any real effect on if you start placing this particular bar. Okay, so that's not something that you need to worry about, because the only time you'd use this is just again to create contrast on your drawing here, so that you can actually see that this is the shape I'm looking for, or this is not the shape I'm looking for. Okay, so sometimes it might be necessary for you to adjust this so that you can see the contrast, especially if you do something like, let's say, C minus A. Okay, you see that that actually adjusts and it picks up the default values of those two. If I'd done C, actually it doesn't do anything, which is quite interesting, but minus C does work. Okay. Now, what we want to do, we want to create the radii around these two corners, and the radii is applied to the end coordinate or end point of that specific line. Okay, so first point is 0, 0, 0, which is over there, and then the second point is a 0. Okay, so the end point of this particular line is over here. So what we're going to do, we don't want a hook, but we want a radius. So in here, we're going to place an F. And you can see it rounds that edge. Again, the end point of this particular line, or that point 3, is this line over here. And I'm going to enter in an F over there. And you can see it's nice and round. Okay, then I'm going to save this. And I'm going to add a rebar sketch to my drawing. Should be able, there we go. There's the rebar sketch with the shapecode number, which is quite cool. And then just see quickly what is holding me back from doing this now. There we go. So the insertion point was the problem. But with that done, okay, I haven't adjusted the cut length yet. We've got a shape there. I'm going to go to add rebar so long, and we should have 99Z over there. So now we should be able to place it. So that dimension, and that dimension. As you can see, those default dimensions don't have a significant impact, and not a lot. Not really something you have to worry about, again, unless you are struggling to get contrast between different leg lengths. Okay, so that's quite cool. You can even make these two legs exactly the same length, and you won't have a problem doing that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Procon add bar window. Got this one open, calculator and edit mode. And then what I'd want to do here is to calculate the cut length. And of course, if you look in the relevant sans code, you'll see that there's a specific way in how it includes these bends. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to say A plus B plus C, which isn't correct, but just so that you know that you do need to update the cut length. Okay, save. You can also have a maximum cut length that you can adjust, even if you make it less than 1300 or 13,000 millimeters. And then the program will automatically limit you when you reach that cut length for the specific shape code. Okay, as long as the cut length calculation or the cut length formula, in a sense, has been entered correctly, you should have quite an accurate cut length. Okay, unfortunately, you do have to enter that manually. You do have to provide the program with that formula, and you can use these tables here for the radii and the hooks, etc. And then you can refer to the sans code to actually look at what would be your cut length formula, because you've got two bends in this specific bar. All right, so that is it for part 2. I hope that that's informative. Part 3 will look at adding an additional leg down here, and hopefully then we'll actually have to adjust these default values over here, or maybe not. We'll see what happens in part 4. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope that you have a fantastic day, and see you in part 3.